Shouts out to Francis Ngannou. So UFC 270, Francis Ngannou defeated Cyril Gane by unanimous decision. And this was probably one of the more surprising wins in Francis Ngannou's career. Not because he won, because I mean, if you go last episode, I predicted that he was going to win. He's 17-3 at this point. He is kind of undoubtedly the best heavyweight UFC fighter in the world. It was surprising because of how he won. Now we know Gane as more of a wrestler, and I said last episode, if this turns into a wrestling match, Gane has a chance to win. Cyril Gane has a chance to win, even though he was the interim UFC champion. He still was undefeated, 10-0 at the time, and most of his things were by submission or unanimous decision because he was so great at the wrestling game. Francis Ngannou was not, but he is a pound for pound, like he is an incredible stand-up fighter. He's if you try to meet him in the middle of the ring, it's over with for you. And it's been for a while now. It's pretty much been known that Francis Ngannou is not the greatest wrestler that there's ever been. So it was shocking to me to see that he won this fight mainly because of his wrestling skills. Getting Gane on the ground, 3 or 4 times, and pretty much controlling the fight on the ground. It was impressive. Now, here's the problem. Again, shouts out and congratulations for Francis Ngannou for winning unanimous decision. Now he's 17-3. Here's the problem that I have with, and it's not just me, everyone pretty much has with UFC. This could very well be Francis Ngannou's final fight in the UFC. And that's solely because UFC superstars do not make a lot of money, do not make that much money. Now, I already hear it now. I'm talking about the UFC. I don't know why. A lot of people do this, and I get it, but the people that flood my inboxes talking about, but the WNBA, hey, I know the WNBA doesn't make a lot of money. I know that. Okay. We're not talking about the WNBA right now. We're talking about UFC. 2 different plights, but I understand. But the UFC fighters don't make a lot of money, especially when you see fighters, retired fighters, old fighters, fighting Jake Pauls or trying to go to boxing because they make more money they make more money in one fight than they've seen in their career combined. Now, in my head, I'm like, all right, maybe UFC just doesn't have the money. But then I remember, UFC just did a whole UFC island where they would fly fighters to an island to fight during the virus now, or during the height of coronavirus. Now, I am not the smartest worm in the book, but you can't tell me that an organization that can afford an entire island to be dedicated to UFC fights cannot afford to pay their players, their fighters, more money. There should be no reason why, after Francis Ngannou unifies the heavyweight belt, that now questions are swirling about, is this his last fight? Because he's set to almost make 10 times more money fighting Tyson Fury in boxing. Which, by the way, to me, Tyson Fury is one of the best boxers in the world going against one of the best UFC fighters. Now, we talk about retired UFC fighters losing to Jake Paul. Now you're going against an actual heavyweight pound for pound fighter. Now, I'm not saying Francis Ngannou can't do it, but what I'm saying is you're making a fighter one of your prize fighters at that, go out of his comfort zone to make more money in a sport where that's not his. Yeah, there's a difference between a great boxer in UFC or being a great boxer in boxing. And we've seen that several times when we talk about Jake Paul fights. So pay your entertainers or pay your employees more money. That goes with UFC, since I'll cater to you guys. That goes to WNBA. That goes to NFL. That goes to any organization where when you have players that are, Francis Ngannou was still in the prime of his career, and now you're talking about his contract's up with the UFC. They don't know if they're going to be able to re-sign because they don't know if they can afford him because he's box office. When you hear Francis Ngannou at this point, he's on the same tier as if you heard of John Bones Jones, if you heard of Khabib. Not saying that he's as good as them as far as totality of his career, but he is on that level. When you hear Francis Ngannou, he draws in Amanda Nunes. Those type of people draw in people. So it's like, why are they fighting? Why are the top guns fighting to get paid in the UFC? I don't know. I'm not an accountant. I don't be looking at Dana White's books, but they just had a whole island. I don't even know if they still have it, but they had a whole island during the pandemic. So they can afford that, but you have to fight tooth and nail, or people like Francis Ngannou has to fight or John Bones Jones has to fight tooth and nail to get more money. That's crazy to me, but shouts out to Francis Ngannou for beating Cyril Gane, by unanimous decision. So